Taking a look now at the concerns over Ebola here in the U.S. About 150 people travel to our country from the West African countries affected by the deadly virus each day. Governor Perry has joined other lawmakers asking for a travel ban to and from the region affected. But the White House has not imposed a ban and so far has not indicated that they plan on doing so. So is this the right move? And what about the CDC director? Do you think he should step down over the clear mishandling of the cases? That's our topic this half hour. And we want to hear from you on Facebook and Twitter. You can use the hashtag Fox26 for Life. Joining us live in our newsroom is our Fox 26 Roundup panel made up of lots of different opinions, and they're led by our legal analyst, Chris Tritico. Chris, good morning again.
Good morning.
Both sides of the aisle now calling for this ban on travel. What do you think?
Well, all of the experts, if we can believe them, because I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but all of the experts are saying a travel ban is not going to be effective to stopping it because the gestation period is so long for the virus. And that's why they are stepping up the screening for people coming off the planes at 5 airports where almost 90% of the people coming from Africa land initially. And that may be the better plan. I think that's what they're evaluating. But what I'm calling Ebolagate, this is the worst, most inept response to a situation that I have ever seen. I said a week ago that we got to listen to the CDC, and it turns out that they didn't know what they were doing. I think it's offensive that when you hear what's happening and the way we responded to Ebola in Dallas, they had no plan and no preparation, and they still don't. That's what we ought to look at. So is the CDC guy, should he resign? He's gone. It's just going to be a matter of time before the president accepts his resignation, as they call it. That's what happens when you get fired at that level. He's going to be gone. They just got to get past the crisis first. I'm joined by Mustafa Tamiz and Jackie Valley, our panel. Welcome back. Mustafa, this has really been the most inept thing I've ever seen.
It's concerning. It's concerning because we have to put our trust in people that make public statements, and then when they're incorrect a number of times, it breeds public confidence. But the reality is we have to also look at what's going on. We keep talking about we want to ban all flights coming in from Africa. Well, we don't have any direct flights coming in from Africa. Anyway, there are no direct flights to that distance, so people are connecting out of all sorts of global airports, and so it's easy to say, why aren't we banning those flights when the flights don't exist? So there is an attack machine that's prevalent in our country. So when we talk about these important issues, it's hard having a meaningful conversation because there's so much misinformation that's put out there.
This nurse the second person diagnosed with Ebola called the CDC and said, I need to go, I can't remember where she was going, I need to fly so-and-so to plan my wedding. I've got a little slight fever, is it okay? Sure, go ahead, it's okay. And then when they found out she had Ebola, they said, well, she never should have been on that flight.
And it's the inept planning and the CDC's mishandling of this situation in different instances, which makes the public get much more uptight and worried than they really should be. And that's really what's spurring and spiraling all of this out of control. Now, I have seen experts who have said, experts and doctors who have publicly said a travel ban would help. And we have used travel bans in the past, or at least quarantine the actual person who could be a potential next victim. So there are different options that are out there, but I think the fact that the CDC, they don't have any kind of, well, they've just mismanaged. They've mismanaged this from day one.
Let me go to Sally.
It's not helping.
Right. Let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
All right, let's take a look at what people on Twitter are talking about. Our own Congressman Ted Poe tweeting that when Congress comes back into session, he will introduce a bill to implement a travel ban to and from the Ebola-affected countries. And then conservative Latina here in Houston, she's saying, an Ebola Czar, really? Referring to President Obama's appointment this week. She says, no, we need to enact a travel ban, period. This is beyond ridiculous.
You know, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm just going to bring that up anyway, the Ebola Czar. It's probably not a bad idea to put somebody in charge to coordinate these things nationwide, and I think that's what the president was trying to do. The criticism has been the person he appointed has no background in medicine. And is that necessary?
Well, it's not the background in medicine. You have to coordinate interagencies. You have to coordinate multiple agencies to take something like this on. And he's appointing somebody who was the chief of staff for Vice President Biden, who has authority, who knows people in order to move quickly, because you can't appoint a medical doctor that doesn't know anybody in agency head, and that will be difficult in
What about that?
Conservative Latina, and it's one of my closest friends, and Ted Poe, what they're both saying is it's the president, like many other instances we've seen in his presidency, is really having a very relaxed attitude. And we would like to see, if you can't do a complete travel ban, some kind of partial travel ban. Again, quarantining some of the people who are coming from these countries. He's saying that you can't do that, it's not going to help. Meanwhile, you're seeing other doctors and experts saying, yes, that would help. Okay. We have used travel bans in the past. This is the time to implement something like that.
We used a travel ban for the bird flu, or whatever that was called, the bird flu. Why not now?
Because there are no flights that are coming directly from Africa. They're connecting from other places, and that's the issue.
And real quick, is the president too cavalier about this?
The president is not cavalier. He's giving his full attention.
What do you expect him to say?
That's why I asked you.
Like, look, Jackie just pointed out a real problem, right? It's that rather than trying to solve something, we rather use it to attack the president.
Well,
and that's what's causing a giant problem.
The president has no plan in place. The CDC czar has no plan in place. That is the problem. You're right.
The problem is this attack
exactly
machine
right.
is what
There
you're
is
doing.
no plan.
That'll be it for this
has
week.
No plan.
Sally, you better jump in because I have no control over my group.
Ebolagate, it continues.
Ebolagate.
Hey, at least we have good news that the cruise ship passenger does not have Ebola.
Yes.
There we go.
I mean, that would have made a whole new mess of the situation.